Hello, everybody. Welcome. We have a few minutes before we need to get started, but I was ready, so I thought I'd check in, and I see we already have Jane from North Syracuse, and Cheryl from Boise, and Carol in Vermont, and Susan in Richmond, and Anne there in British Columbia. So nice to have you here again, and Kathy, who is in Alberta, not that far, sort of. From British Columbia. Well, closer than I am to British Columbia, let's put it that way. And Sheboygan, Jill from Sheboygan. Ben's here from Reading. Well, that's not that far from me. That's pretty good. Shannon in North Carolina. I think that's Northern California, I'll bet you. NorCal. There we go. Okay, I can't read. I should have brought I might have glasses up here. I don't know. Oh yeah, probably do. I should get them in case I'm going to need them, huh? And Nell is here from Georgia. Love it. Nell, that's where my glasses fail me. There's Julie and Lee and Sue and Lisa's here. Yeah, Northern California, Shannon. I thought so. It took me a minute, but I got it. Northern California, I got it. Janet is near Chicago. Yay. All right, good. Well, we've got lots and lots of people, and I'm so excited. Oh, I missed Carol here, Carol Mask, who's here. This is great. And Dale's here from Hawaii. So excellent. All right. I'm happy to have you here. So I'm here near Philadelphia is where I live. I live in Oxford, PA, which is all the way. We're almost to Maryland. If I stand in the front of my house on the second floor, I can kind of see Maryland. We're that close. So we're also very close to Delaware. We're right in that little corner. So that's where we are. And Peggy's here from Illinois. Susan's here from Vermont. Yay! And Mary in Ohio, and Joanne from North Carolina. There we go. Hanel is here from New Zealand. Wow, great. Wonderful to have you here. And Rebecca's here. She's in Vancouver. We know that. And Kathleen is here from Sault Ste. Marie. I haven't been to Sault Ste. Marie since I was a teenager. So I loved Sault Ste. Marie. I thought it was beautiful. So anyway, we are here tonight just because I have some cool things to share. Pam's here from Illinois. This is wonderful. So of course I've got practice ideas to share with you, and I'm really excited about that. Oh, and there's Trisha. Yay, from Massachusetts. It's great. So love it. Okay, well, let me, I know I'm looking at the people on the call, and I know so many of you, and I know lots of you are My Heart Mastery members, and I just wanted to ask you guys a quick question. If you were on the call last night or had a chance to listen to the replay, did you love Christina's presentation about Jazz Harp 101? Did it leave you with with questions? Did you like that? Sylvia's here from San Francisco. Oh yay! And Michelle and Pam, another Pam from PA. Love it. This is great. Well, I like Pam's and I like Pennsylvania. There's Robin, who's in Jasper, Georgia, and Janet in rainy Florida. This is good. Oh, nice. Elizabeth, who is in New Zealand. We've got a couple. And there's Dennis in Virginia. Excellent. You know, Dennis, that reminded me. I'm going to remember to get in touch with you here and see how things are going. June loved the jazz class. She can't wait to try it. Okay, well, see, this is great. Yeah, Christina is great, says Lisa Matern Harper. Yeah, exactly. Julie says, jazz is not as scary as I thought. Janet thought it was wonderful. Yeah, so the call that we're talking about is the My Heart Mastery call last night. Pam said, yes, her enthusiasm was inspiring. Yeah, I know, it really is. So, and I know that most of our My Heart Mastery members are not jazz harpists or aspiring to be jazz harpists. And when I saw Christina's idea for this call, I thought it was just what we needed, because it's really good to get out of your comfort zone a little, shake things up, and explore jazz harp. It sounds kind of scary, and I know a lot of people aren't super into jazz. It's like kind of like, okay, well, I don't know if I like jazz, but talking about jazz harp was really interesting because she was talking about patterns and she was talking about how this stuff works. And I would imagine that there was a lot that any harpist could take away from that call. And I was really interested to find out that you guys too. Anne says, so good to have options. Who knew? Yes, right, exactly. It's all about options and about choices. So, and there's Marcy. So, and Anne from Toronto. Great. Yeah. So I'm interested to know, just while we're waiting for a couple more people to pop in the door here, I'm really interested to know if you were on that call, the My Harp Mastery call last night, and you're inspired. What are you going to try first? What do you think was your first takeaway, even if you're not going to apply it to jazz playing, but just to your own playing? Rhythmically challenged, says Carol. Well, okay, but this is something we can work with. And Linda's here from Minnesota. This is great. We're all rhythmically challenged in some ways or at some point, but that's okay because we can get there. So anything that you particularly are going to try from there? As I said, I was so excited when I saw her topic for the call, and then when I saw the PDF that she was going to share with you, and I thought this is going to be a great call, especially knowing Christina. I thought this is going to be fabulous. So, Janet's here from San Francisco. Great. Tricia says, I like that she said there are no wrong notes. Yeah, that's true. That's the nice thing about jazz. We don't call them wrong. We say, they're blue notes, right? We give them a color. How nice. Dennis says, improve. Try taking a tune, or improv. I'll bet that is. Try taking a tune and work the chords. Exactly. Pam says she's been working through the Louise Trotter book, which I love, but not really experimenting much. So this is motivating her to try some new things. Dale liked the 1 note, 3 notes improvising technique. It is a great one to start with. Using lead sheets, says Carol. Janet says, I have lead sheets, so I'm going to try with this as well as working the improvisation ideas. Great. Monique says she was there and she said, if Gershwin qualifies, I'm in. Gershwin absolutely qualifies. So Ginger's here. Hi, Ginger. Oh, gosh, Ginger, I owe you an email, don't I? Okay, what did I just do with my pencil that I just wrote with? Here we go. Dennis, and now I owe Ginger. Okay, sorry. Good. Let's see. June says Amanda Whiting's pieces seem to be workable. Yeah, I love Amanda Whiting's pieces. Kathy says picking out her own tunes and chords is fun. Arlene says, clearly I will have to listen to the replay. Too many volunteering work commitments yesterday and today. Understand. Susan's here. She says, better late than never. Well, anytime, right. And Shirley's here. Louise is here from country Victoria, Australia. Love it. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. On that note, it's probably about time that we get started. So we're going to dive in. I hope you all got the PDF. This PDF, mine's filled in. This one here. Did you get that? Yep. So terrific. And Wendy's here. Another New Zealand candidate. Love that. Okay, great. I might just need to come to New Zealand. This is what I'm thinking. Sounds like a good trip to me. Anyway, all right. So what we're going to talk about tonight is a practice idea and what practice is really about. Where is the PDF, says Janet. You know what? Let me get you the link to the PDF. So hang on a second. Although for some reason, I think Rebecca's going to beat me to it. She always does. Let me get a link for you. And let me just copy that link and I'll pop it in here for you. All right. It's not the, she's probably going to have a better link than I am. Oops. I didn't copy the link. That's no good. Hang on a second. There we go. I have copied the link. Excellent. All right. So let me put that in the chat for you. If I can find where I am. Here we go. The PDF is here. If you need to find it. That's not exactly it. Guess what? It didn't copy for me. I'll have to go back and do it again. All right. I can do this. Honest. Get the link. Copy the link. There we go. It says it's copied. All right, we'll come back over here and we'll pop it in. The link is too long. Okay, I've got a link that will work, even though it is a little bit on the long side. Here it is. You'll be able to see it right there. So there is the link to the PDF if you need one. There you go. And thank you, Lindsay, for popping that one in. I appreciate it. Maybe that's why I didn't copy it. There we go. All right. Terrific. We've got 3 different links coming in at you. So that's good. Oh, I see it. It just pops up in 3 different places. Did you know that this webinar is being streamed? You might be watching in one of those places right here on the StreamYard platform, which is what we're using. And then it's also being streamed to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. So you can watch it there. And so I think I just put the link in there and it went to all 3 places. Kind of cool. Okay. All right, Connie's there in Southern Delaware. Connie, I am not that far from you either. Probably just a quick trip up Route 1 would connect us. So up or down Route 1, whichever way we're going. Terrific. Okay, tell you what. Here's the thing. Life is too short to not know how to practice. And practice isn't one of those things that we teachers are really good about teaching to our students. And the more I teach, the more I find out that there are things that I've absorbed from my own teachers and from my own experience over the years that I just haven't shared. And these particularly are sort of overarching principles and things that are going to help you with the nitty-gritty too. So that's what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to just make sure that I refer to my notes because I don't want to miss anything tonight because that wouldn't be good. So when you think about practice, one of the things that occurs to me immediately is that we harpists, we go for our lesson with a teacher or a coach. Then, teacher says, okay, go home, come back with this prepared next week. And we go home and we work on it ourselves and we bring it back. Think about what an athlete does. An athlete gets to work with a coach every day, right? The athlete goes to practice. There are people there. There are coaches there. They're telling them how to do. And so they're able to course correct and refine in real time. School children go to school every day so that they have a teacher who's working with them to teach and coach them in every step. But we're expected to go home and just do it ourselves. So I'm going to share my own sort of personal practice story with you here because I think it's going to be a little bit instructive. So I started piano lessons when I was 4. And I wanted to play the harp, but the deal was I had to wait until I was 8 to start the harp. So I started piano lessons. I had a wonderful piano teacher, and I still love to play the piano. So, I'm just getting that right out there. But my lessons at that age were age appropriate. So my teacher in the lesson would show me what to do and then write down in my lesson book so that my parents could say, okay, play this 3 times, do this 10 times, play this, do this, do this, do this, so that the learning happened in the lesson. The repetition happened at home. And then I just did what she said, which was more or less what we as adults would call mindless practice. But that was appropriate for a kid. We needed a lot of rote work, right? So I would do that work at home, bring it back. She would show me the next thing to do. I would go home, play it, bring it back. And that's the way practice worked. Now, after I was older, I stopped piano lessons when I was 12 because my teacher made me, my piano teacher. She said, you're going to be a harpist. You need to stop piano now. I'd already been taking harp for 4 years by age 12. And so I was doing harp practice. And my harp teacher was not quite as tuned to teaching young children. A terrific teacher. But she she assumed that I knew more about practicing than I did. I wasn't, I was going to say I wasn't a very good practicer. I was a terrible practicer. Let's just call this way out. I was terrible. I hated doing it. And I didn't see the point, partly because I was a very good sight reader. So I could get through a lot of things without having to work at them very much. I know that sounds really good, but it means that there was a big span of time in those years from like 12 to 16 where I should have been practicing and doing a lot, and I really wasn't. Because I really didn't know how to practice. I didn't have that down. And so that was kind of a chunk of time that didn't go so well for me. But by the time I was in college, by the time I was at Curtis, my harp lessons were, much more that usual sort of, here's what you need to do, go home, do it, bring it back. And I had, by this time I knew that practicing had to happen. I still didn't exactly know how it had to happen, but I sort of had a better idea that on those evenings, after school, whatever, when I was supposed to be practicing, I knew I was supposed to be doing something, and I would put in the time. It was more difficult for me because I really didn't feel like I had a framework for it. I just knew I was supposed to put in a lot of time. When I went to harp camp for the first time when I was 16, that's when I decided that I really had to learn to practice, and I put in 4 hours a day. I did those 4 hours straight, by the way. I did them from 8 in the morning till noon, which is something I would never recommend to any of my students. I would get up and walk around and stuff in the middle, but I did them 8 to noon because after I was done. I had the whole rest of the day to myself, and I didn't touch the harp again, which probably wasn't the right way to do it, but that's what I did. So practicing became for me about the time that I put in. But eventually, I figured out exactly where this balance was between putting in time and putting in repetitions and actually making progress. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. I don't want you to have to figure that out on your own. I know some of you may have it already figured out, but maybe this will help you put some words to what you already know. Maybe it will just help organize your thoughts a little bit more. Because when you know how to practice, what you're trying to do, how to do it, and why you're doing it, after all, harp practice is completely different. So if you're ready to find out what you've been missing in your practice to this point, we will get started. Sound okay? All right. So I am going, at least I hope so. So I'm going to share my screen with you if I can do this properly. And I am going to, we'll look at some pretty slides. Okay, let me try this way. Oh, no, not that way. I did it wrong. I think we want this way. Actually, let's try this. Do you love these fancy layouts? I love them. Okay, so Cheryl says she's ready. Excellent. Can you see my screen? And I'm down there like in the little corner. And you can see this lovely, lovely slide that Lindsay made up for me because I can't do this on my own. So this is what we're talking about. And I hope that you can see it. So we're all there. Yep. Okay. Pam says yes. So we are set. So what we're going to start with, and if you have your PDF with you, you will be able to see this. Oh, Emily's here. Lovely. All right. I'm glad you're here. Okay. So let's get rolling on this PDF here. So we're going to start with those 2 wrong ideas that you probably have about practice. And it's okay if you had them, because you'll know from my story that I just told you, I had them too. The first wrong idea about practice is that practice is hard and boring. Okay, practice sometimes can be hard. We got that part, right? But it shouldn't be boring. And when you know what it's supposed to be doing, then it's not so boring. The second wrong idea you probably have about practice is that, oh, I'm kind of in the way there, aren't I? There's a secret that everyone else knows. That's what that says. It says there's a secret that everyone else knows. It's like everybody else knows how to practice. What's wrong with me? I've been there. Now, the thing about these is that neither one of those things is actually true. They're very common thoughts for, music students everywhere, but they're also music stealers. They keep, as in like STEAL, right? They steal the music from you. They keep you actually from doing the right kind of practice, the kind that leads to playing your music. So we're going to talk about 2 better statements to use in a minute, but so that you can understand these better statements more thoroughly, I'm going to go over 3 different practice methods, two wrong ones and 1 right one. And this is, pretty much my story of learning about what practice really is. And that's the story that I just shared with you. And Cody, no worries, you haven't missed much. You're right here. So, okay. Now I told you that I started piano lessons at age 4, right? Great teacher, lots of specific instruction. And I learned quickly following her directions, right? This is what I told you about just a second ago. But that actually was practice method 1. Now it works really well if you're a kid and you're just learning. Practice method 1 works really well. And I mean, like, if you're under 10, it's okay. But I call this practice method 1, I call stuck in a rut, because it's practice that's based almost exclusively on repetition. And when we use this as an adult, or even, a young adult in our teen years, we're not taking full advantage of everything that we know and everything that we can do. We don't want to be stuck in a rut. The characteristics of stuck in a rut, if you're filling out your PDF, it would be lots and lots of repetition, not a lot of progress. It might even be the kind of thing where you practice and you end up sort of getting down to that sort of pinhole focus where your whole piece feels like it comes down to that 1 or 2 measures that you can't play. That's when you know you're stuck in a rut. And that's definitely not practice we want to do. Now, practice method 2 is the kind of practice that I did when I was at harp camp in Maine, the kind that I told you about before, where it's all about the amount of time you put in. Because by the time I was, at harp camp doing 4 hours of practice in a row, I was making progress, and I thought I had found the secret. There it is. Secret to progress. More hours equals more progress. Now, time is part of the progress factor, and we'll talk about that. You do need to put in time, but there's not that kind of direct correlation that, if I do an hour more of practice, I'll get that much more equivalent progress. Progress doesn't work like that. And harp practice is not just about putting in time. So this practice method, number 2, I call stuck to the bench. And I'll tell you why I call it stuck to the bench. When I was little, we lived in a neighborhood, and 2 doors down was a family. We played, the kids played together all the time, and the grown-ups were good friends, and my mother and their mother were particularly close. And the woman of the house was a concert pianist. And my mother used to love to hear her practice in the neighborhood, and summertime, the windows were open and she's practicing, and she practiced a lot. You have to, right? When you're a concert artist, that's what you do. And there was one day that she had been practicing, and she got up from the piano bench, and it was an old wooden bench, and she got up, and some of the skin from her legs actually stuck to the bench, just from the perspiration and the hot weather, and she'd been concentrating and hadn't gotten up. And, after that, I always learned, hot weather, if I'm sitting on a bench like that in shorts, sit on a towel, so that you don't stick to the bench, right? But she hadn't thought about that, and so I call this stuck to the bench. But it's not about time. That's the biggest characteristic of this practice method. More time equaling more progress? Well, not so much. But after having been through stuck in a rut and stuck to the bench, I finally realized that repetition alone didn't cut it, and it didn't get any more energizing or satisfying, or didn't help me make progress any faster when I did those same repetitions, just did more of them and spent more time doing them each day. That's when I finally hit on practice method 3, which I'm calling, for lack of a better name, and if one of you comes up with a better name, that's great, but it's the straight ahead system. Why straight ahead? Because first of all, it is a system. It's a pretty complete system. It's repeatable for any piece. It grows your musicianship and your confidence while you're learning your music. It lets you manage your time, your energy, and your expectations. And it's straight ahead because you're not going to go around in circles. Now, having said that you're not going to go around in circles, there's a slide later that has all the 4 characteristics of this practice plan sort of laid out in a circle, but you'll see that they really do lead you to progress. So, as I said, I don't have a better name for it right now, but it's my favorite way to look at my practice. When you're using this, and it's so simple, we can get rid of those 2 wrong ideas about practice, and we can substitute 2 really wonderful truths for them instead. And they are these. The first one is, and I'll have to explain them, I'm sure. The first one is, however it was today, it won't be the same tomorrow. Now, this is one of those things I've learned about practice, that I have a great practice day and I make a lot of progress and I feel really, really good about the stuff that I've done. That doesn't mean that when I come back tomorrow, I'm going to be able to pick up from there. It doesn't mean that those pieces are still going to go that well tomorrow. I know you've had this experience, and maybe you haven't decided or discovered that everybody has this experience and that this up and downness is part of the practice process. But it is. So if you had a really great day of practice, be sure that you don't set your expectations too high when you come back to practice the next day, because we don't know how your brain is going to consolidate that information. You've got all kinds of processes that you're trying to coordinate when you practice, and your brain is working on them whether you're actually at the harp or not. So you may experience lots of ups and downs as you practice. You might have had a terrible day of practice today, but you got in there and did it anyway. And tomorrow, it may sound like it's ready for Carnegie Hall. That's typical. Right? However it was today, it won't be the same tomorrow. Progress happens over time, and its time frame is not often the same as ours. So, just be accepting of that fact. Okay? And here's practice truth number 2, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight. You need to trust time, push the envelope, and praise progress. These are the 3 things that actually drive progress and should be what you're doing in your practice in order to have that happen. This is really the basis for a practice system where you know that progress is going to happen over time. The longer you play something, the better it gets, right? And that progress doesn't happen unless you push for it. Mere repetition won't do it. Just going over and over something won't get you the musical result that you want. Pushing the envelope a little bit as you do that will. And then this third component, praise progress. I mean, when you have a good practice day or when you play something well, you need that pat on the back. Give yourself a pat on the back. I know lots of us aren't comfortable praising ourselves, but you know what? That's what teachers and coaches and harp friends and family and all those people are for. You can say, hey, I had a really great practice day. That piece sounded really good today. I love it when, when my students tell me that this was a really great day, even if 2 days later it's, I thought it was going so well, really well, but it's not so good today. That's okay. It'll come back. It will come on the upslope again. But praising that progress, recognizing it, giving yourself the credit for all that work is really important. We'll talk about some various ways to do that. Couple of things here in the chat. I see Lisa said she actually has a towel on her bench. She's in Middle Tennessee because summers are brutal on her fanny. She says, sorry for the visual. Yeah. Well, I often use a wooden bench, and in the summer, it always has a towel. If I'm in long pants or a long skirt, then that's great, right? But if I'm wearing shorts, I don't want to stick to the bench. And I've done it, not with the loss of skin, but it's uncomfortable for sure. Marcy says, the ups and downs we reviewed, it's so true. Thought I had a practice nailed, then big fails the next 2 days, then some recovery. Yeah, absolutely. That's what happens. And remember that this is your brain sorting out everything you've asked it to do. And so it's going to work with it in ways we don't completely understand. Just do what you know works, keep on doing it, and let the progress happen. Okay, so let's move right along here. And because I want to talk about those 3 things: trust time, push the envelope, praise progress, as they show up in your practice. So that says to get the results that you want, first thing you need, ready? Here are 3 factors. They're showing up on your PDF as 3 essential practice ingredients. Here's the first one: consistency. Now, this should be the no-brainer, but I find most of us need reminding about it. And by consistency, I'm really mostly talking about consistency in your practice. This is the value of time, right? And you can't cram practice. I mean, we know this. I don't know why we still try to do it, but practice provides progress. Ooh, how's that for alliterative? Practice produces progress when you have consistent touches over time. So you can't just say, I'm going to do 3 hours of practice today and that's going to do me for the rest of the week. You're much better taking those 3 hours and saying, I'm going to do half an hour over each of 6 days. And that way you're going to have the same amount of time over the week, but you're going to have a lot more value because you're touching it all the time. And that's what consistency means. This kind of time is sort of like, water and sunshine to a plant, right? You can't just put the plant in the sun one day and say, okay, you were out in the sun all day today, you're going to come in for the rest of the week. That's enough sunshine for the week. Or it's like your food, right? You don't eat one day of the week and then hope that lasts the whole week. So same deal here, right? Where, it takes, practice is hard. We know that. It's, not hard and boring. It's just takes a lot of work. And so it takes energy, it takes refueling, and you need to bring that to your practice consistently. So now, one of the things that will help you stay consistent is if you have a reason to stay consistent, like people who have weekly lessons, for instance, right? That helps get them to the harp more often, and it helps make them more consistent. Aside from lessons, is there anything else? You can quickly type in the chat here. Is there anything else you do to help you stay consistent or to help you refuel and reconnect with your playing so that you're bringing new energy to it and you have enough energy to practice? Anything you do like that? Wendy typed in, said, we know intellectually that progress is not linear and somehow we still expect it to be. Yeah, I know. Set a goal, says Christy. Absolutely. Setting a goal can help motivate you to stay consistent in your practice. A deadline. Yep. Scheduled program, says Pam. Always an upcoming goal. Yep. I think Get up and stretch, says Sylvia. Yeah, that's excellent, right? To keep you on track, keep you relaxed and ready to work. Meredith says she records her practice and then reviews it for problems. Ooh, you are the brave one. Excellent. And sets a special time of day. Carol just has a guilty conscience, and that's what spurs her on. Okay. Wendy says posting videos on social media. These are always, oh, I love what Sonia says. She brings her morning tea with her to the harp. That's lovely, right? So all of those are great ways to set a habit, set an intention, and keep that intention for yourself. This is great. Rebecca says, knowing when your energy is good, right? Like not after the workday for her. Yeah, absolutely. Julie keeps a calendar and makes notes. Don't like to see blank days. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Emily says, I play with others on Zoom calls 3 days a week, and that has been amazing. I'm so much less afraid to play for people because each one of us leads a song while the others mute. Yes. Fabulous. Cheryl likes the tea idea. Well, Emily, that's similar to what we do with our sounding boards in My Harp Mastery, right? A lot of you, Cheryl also started a journal. Great. So in those of you in My Harp Mastery, many of you are taking advantage of those small groups that meet regularly, whether it's once a month or more often, to play for each other and just to get that same kind of support. But I love that you do it a few times a week, Emily. That is terrific. Okay, so let's look at the second factor here. Learning. This also sounds like a duh, right? Well, of course I'm supposed to learn. But I want you to compare the idea of learning to the idea of repetition, right? When and we all do this, get into our practice and we're working at notes and technique and fingering, and we forget to actually think about learning the music, thinking about the patterns that are there, maybe the chords, observing the markings on the page, listening to the music that we make, thinking about that bigger picture, and really learning not just this finger on this string at this moment, but really learning. This is so different from just repetition. When you can get in there and say, all right, well, so I'm having trouble playing these two measures. Rather than just put your head down and try to barrel through them again, what if you said, well, what's there? What can I discover about this? What can I learn about it? Is there a pattern? Is there a meaning? Do I see a reason for it? What's here? I think that's so, so important. So trying out new ideas would be a great thing here too, right? So bringing that to our practice. And then the third one here, feedback. This is what Emily was talking about, and I think Meredith was talking about it, right? She records her practice. She gives her own feedback, but feedback from a teacher, feedback from a recording, feedback from a coach, feedback from harp friends, and not necessarily even social media, right? Not necessarily in the form of, I thought it was great, but you could do this. We're not even looking for constructive criticism. We're just looking to share our music with somebody and be able to, if we have a question, how did that sound? Does this sound too slow? Am I playing this right? To be able to ask a harp friend about that, to be able to just have somebody's attaboy, attagirl, for doing this. That's terrific. There are various types of feedback, obviously. If you have questions, being able to get answers for those questions, playing for and with your harp friends, sharing ideas with other harpists, all of those are good. But, that feedback is just so important. Okay? Now, I'm going to make sure that I move on and get to the right page on the PDF, because if there are blanks on a PDF to fill in and I'm taking a workshop, I want to know how to fill in those blanks. So I'm sure many of you would be the same. So I want to be sure that I don't miss anything. All right, well, let's go on to this next big idea here and talk about what this practice plan could be like. I guarantee that this practice plan is not what you think. We're not talking about what you're going to play in your practice time. Not going to talk about any particular kind of piece or exercises or etudes or anything else. But this is a practice plan for anything. For any kind of piece, any genre, any length, any level, anything. So it's very broad, but it really hits on these important points. So the first thing that I want you to think of when you're getting ready to practice a piece is that you need to play what you can. Right from the very first, don't just dig in there and assume that you have to start hands separately. Don't assume that you have to start in small sections. Don't even assume that you have to start at the beginning. I want you to play as much as you can right from the start. And so I call this moving the starting blocks. I mean, after all, if you don't have to practice the first 4 measures because you can sit down and play them, then do that. Play what you can. This is using, some people think this feels like cheating because they want to get in there and do their careful practice right at the beginning. But the fact is that this is using all the practice you've already done in your entire life. All the practice you've done in your entire life has enabled you to play some music, not just have to practice it. So the idea to play what you can, you'll notice this goes along with that 30 days to done idea that I talked about a few weeks ago on the podcast. Just a couple weeks ago. It feels longer than that, but that was episode 100, right? So it was pretty recent. So to play what you can is using what you already know. So, Anne put this in the chat. She said, I printed out a quote from Arthur Ashe. Yeah, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Yeah, and it is fabulous inspiration. So, and there are a lot of things you can take from that quote. What I want you to do is when you're sitting down to practice a piece, play everything you can. Don't practice it if you don't have to. Another way to think about that. But, point 2, fix what you must, right? You can't skip over the hard stuff. You do need to fix what you have to. So if I were sitting down to practice a piece, I would absolutely play every part of it that I can play. And then I'd go back and say, okay, now I need to work on this section, and I need to work on this section, and I need to work on this section. And you get in there and you do the hard stuff. And you don't have to do this in any particular order either, just so you know. Try something new. And this doesn't just mean a new piece or a new anything like that. Maybe try a new practice technique with that piece. I was talking to one of my Gold Circle students today, and she's been working on a harder section in one of her pieces, and she said, well, and I'm doing this technique and this, and I do something different with it every day. And I congratulated her because that's fabulous. To be able to take that toolbox of practice techniques and do something different, try something new with it, that's going to help you find the way to play it, right? Because it's the tricky spot. You need to learn stuff about it. And this is going to help you learn more about it. It's going to help your fingers and your brain approach it a different way. So try something new, a different practice technique, a different, a different direction of working. Maybe you're used to working from the beginning to the end. Well, start working from the end and work backwards. Start from the middle and work outward. Every new thing, that new way that you work on your piece gives your brain and your fingers more information. It helps you find out more about the piece. So always try something new. I was just about to say, don't be afraid to try something new. I don't want you to be afraid to, but I want you to actually plan to try something new. Every time you practice something new. And lastly, And I put this last, so many times we think about this as the first component, strengthen the foundation. Your eyes, your ears, and your fingers. What are you seeing? How are you reading? What are you hearing? And what are your fingers playing? And sure, this could be exercises, but this could actually just be working on the skills that you need to play a particular piece or a particular passage of a piece. What are you seeing? What patterns are there? What are the chords? What are the notes? What are you trying to reach? What are the intervals? Right? Are there patterns that repeat? What do you hear? What does it sound like? Could you sing those couple of measures? Can you find the melody? Do you really know how it goes without playing it? And then how consistent are your fingers? We do have to drill them. You can also include some technique work here. As you do some of those repetitions on some of those more challenging spots, you can check your technique, turn them into little mini exercises. All that's excellent work, right? So now this is a practice plan for any piece. You're going to play as much of it as you can, fix what you have to, try something new on those spots that you have to fix, or maybe try something new with the whole piece. Like, okay, I'm going to try the whole piece a little faster. I'm going to try the whole piece with different dynamics. Or maybe I'm going to try the whole piece with dynamics. Maybe you hadn't put that in. Maybe that's something new to try. And then be sure that you're not playing without paying attention to what you're seeing, what you're hearing, and what you're doing with your fingers, of course. Now, I told you that this was very general. But do you see the power that it can have? Think about a piece that you're working on right now. And if instead of thinking about what you had to do as, well, I don't know, should I start from the beginning to learn this piece? And one of the questions I'm asked all the time, should I start hands separately or hands together? Play what you can. Should I, how much, what should I do with this harder passage? Well, work at fixing it and try something new with it. Maybe use it as a technical exercise and use it as a dynamic exercise and maybe play it in rhythms and maybe, so that you're fixing what you can. But this gives you a way to work on the piece today and work on the piece tomorrow without really worrying about that linear progress or nonlinear progress, right? This is what you're going to do. And doing this is the path to progress. Now, so speaking of paths, we're going to talk about some paths here. Just 2 paths, and there are lots of different paths. I mean, when you're thinking about learning a piece, there are lots, or anything in your harp playing, or getting if you run into a problem in your practice, any of those kinds of things. There are various resources that you have to fix it, right? You're starting a new piece, you practice it on your own, you take it to a teacher, you take it to a coach, you play it for a friend, you get some ideas from them, you go back, maybe you listen to a video on it, you work on it, that's one path, right? There are lots of ways to do this. I know that a lot of adult harpists really like the DIY path, the do-it-yourself path, the one where, okay, I found this great piece. I heard somebody play it on YouTube. I found this great piece and I downloaded it and I'm going to learn it. And that's great. But what I want to show you here is what can happen on a DIY path. And then we'll talk about one of the options and just show you how this fits in. And I want to refer you again to the ideas of consistency, learning, and feedback, because those are the critical things here. So let's go on here and look at this first path here. And it is the DIY video path. So you've got your piece, you're learning your piece on your own, but you've got a question. I don't understand this fingering. Oh, there was a question today that one of my students asked me. I don't see where this repeat goes back to. It was one of my gold circlers. I don't see it. I don't understand. What am I supposed to do with it? And then what is that funny symbol? And what does this marking mean on the page? Right? Stuff like that. So you're learning the piece and you've got a question. So your first step is to go back to YouTube or whatever and try to find a video that addresses the issue you want to solve. Right? I don't know what that marking is. And actually, I have to laugh because this is exactly the way we addressed the question that my Gold Circle student had today. We looked for a video, or rather I did. She had the question and I said, well, oh, look, here's the answer. And so we were able to find the answer right away. But here's what often happens. You try to find that video that addresses the issue you want to solve and you find it, yes, and you watch it, yes, but you still have questions. It's like, okay, they're showing me, I can see this person's hands and I see what they're doing, but I can't quite see the fingering. But okay, it looks like they're crossing under with 3, but that fingering doesn't work for me. And then what do you do in the next measure? And I can't see in the video what happens in the next measure. I mean, we've all been there, right? You think you're going to find that video that solves the question. And usually what we find is a video that almost does. So what do you do after that? Well, clearly, you go look for another video. Okay. It can get a little frustrating for sure. But there are other paths, right? If you have a teacher. None of this happens when you have a teacher because you've got a question, you get in touch with your teacher, or you wait till the next lesson, you ask your question, you get an answer, boom, and you get an answer that's going to work for you. I know the students in our coaching program, they do the same thing, right? They've got got a question, their coach is right there. This is my question, this is the answer, boom. But if you don't have a teacher or you don't have a coach, then, sometimes the video is what you're stuck with. Now, Heart Buddies are good. There are other ways to get answers, but I wanted to tell you because there are so many of you on the call tonight who are part of this group, and I wanted to remind you specifically, you My Heart Mastery members. We're going to talk about this My Heart Mastery path right now, and this is for you because this is how those 3 things, consistency and learning and feedback, are part of your membership in My Heart Mastery. Now, for those of you that don't know, My Heart Mastery is our membership community. We have about 150 people in the group worldwide. We have weekly live calls where sometimes I'm on the call, sometimes one of our certified coaches is on the call leading a workshop, a presentation on a harp topic, and they're there live to talk with everybody on the call. And it's a Zoom call where you get to see all the little faces and all the little squares, not like the webinar calls here. So, there's real live instruction. We've got courses, we've got, our Scale of Success course, we've got a lot of stuff, and I'll tell you more about it. But that membership community, so many of you who are here are in it, and I wanted to be sure you knew how to use it well for this practice plan. Besides, and I'll give you a little sneak preview because it's not up on the website yet. The first call we have in May, Monday night, May 1st, I will be leading that call, and I'm going to be taking those 4 steps I just talked about. Play what you can, fix what you must, try something new, and strengthen the foundation. I'm going to be taking those 4 specific things and walking you through them in a real piece so you can see how this plays out. So we're going to be talking about that in depth on Monday's call, much more in depth than I can do right here on the webinar. So anyway, that, as I said, sneak preview, don't tell anybody I told you because it's not published yet. Okay, so My Heart Mastery, this is how that same idea works. You have a question, you get to look through our archive of courses and calls. We've got a lot of them. We have over 60 courses on the site. We have all the calls. We've got one every week, and every one of those calls either relates to one of our courses or to its own standalone course, like Christina's call yesterday, the Jazz 101. We haven't dealt with jazz in My Heart Mastery before, and it was a great call dealing with patterns and all that kind of stuff, as you know. So we have an extensive archive of that stuff. When you have a question, you can go there. That's why we have a table of contents. So you can go right to the table of contents of courses and say, bzz, 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 question about practice techniques, practice, up there it is. Click through and there's the course. Or you can attend the weekly live call and ask a coach. There's always somebody live on the call to help you, right? Now think about this. First of all, you're getting some questions answered live. The coach is there for you, or I'm there for you. Somebody's there for you every week. So there's that consistency that we're looking for, right? And then, of course, you can participate in our member forum anytime. Join a sounding board group. You can do the Scale of Success curriculum, which is another learning opportunity. So all of those things are right there. Remember, you have these resources. So there's no reason that you need to have a question unanswered. We're a resource for you. All the other harpists in the group are wonderful. I have never met a better community of harpists, really. And the sounding board groups, we have several of them going. They're member-led, and they're just the harpists getting together and playing for each other, just to share music, get used to playing for people, work on repertoire, do things in progress, all that kind of stuff. As Arlene says, she learns so much from it. Combined with the podcast and the emails, Times Principle really helps with the heart progression. Well, yeah. So there's a lot there. Thank you for that, Arlene. We're so glad to have you. So that's there. And I will mention that again because My Heart Mastery membership is open right now. I haven't made a big deal of it yet. I haven't even sent any promotional emails out. I've been busy working with new coaching students and my Gold Circle people and all kinds of stuff, and just haven't made a big deal out of it. But those of you who are on the webinar who are not My Heart Mastery members, this is your chance to get in. So there. But what I really want to do is review. So I'm going to open the floor here to questions, I think is what I've got. If you are interested in joining My Heart Mastery, this would be a great thing to do. I'm going to I'll leave that up here. Let me see if I can. Oh, there we go. So that's kind of up. It's tiny on the screen, but at least I'm back and you can see me. And I wanted to show you something. Oh, Monique says she loves My Heart Mastery. It's fantastic. Well, thank you. And I wanted to show you, I've got to move some papers here. This is always a work in progress. So I'm going to turn this just a little. Do you see all those Post-its behind me on the wall? There we go. Those are all our My Heart Mastery members. And so there's some updating I have to do from the last couple of weeks, but I like to know everybody who's on the call. And actually those blue Post-its in the middle, they are our charter members. They've been with me since the beginning of My Heart Mastery, which means they've been with me, never dropped their membership or anything, and they've been with me since 2014. So that's pretty impressive. That's when My Heart Mastery started, 2014. So if you want to join My Heart Mastery, I've got Post-its waiting for you too, so you can let me know. Oh, it's very high-tech Post-its. Yeah, very, very high-tech, for sure. All right, let me see if I can center myself a little bit more here. I'm going to have to turn this way. There we go. And all right, that's the problem with mirrored video. I always move the wrong way. There we go. All right, so do you have questions about this practice system? So the three things that that nobody really taught me about practice, that I had to learn. And maybe you guys are just, better learners than I was. But being consistent in your practice, okay. And then really learning, not just repeating, but using your practice time to learn, which was something I certainly wasn't doing as a little kid, right? And then lastly, the feedback, not just from a teacher, but from other harpists. It's so key. It's so crucial. So let me see. Tiffany says the Kaleidoscope practice book describes the woodshed theorem. Yes, absolutely. Yep. And the success of Charlie Parker. To what extent is woodshedding an appropriate part of balanced practice? Well, okay. So musicians, and actually I've discovered that I know that they use the term woodshedding in legal circles too. But in music practice, when we take it to the woodshed means we've got to put in a lot of practice time because it's not working. And taking it to the woodshed usually involves a lot of repetition. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again. And that's not, that's an important part of practice. I mean, we learn to do something better by doing it more. So, this is where, yes, my idea of practicing longer was good, but not just practicing longer, practicing smarter. My idea of repeating something over and over and over again is great, but not without learning, not without paying attention to it, and not just over and over without trying something new to really enhance the learning. So woodshedding, which is what we call it, when you're just going to woodshed that part, meaning you're going to get in there and you're going to practice it, is part of practice. There are times we have to do it. Generally, it's the kind of thing that is all right, I'll just stick with what I was going to say, a desperation technique. Like, okay, this just won't happen, and I'm just going to hammer away at it. I'm going to beat my head against the brick wall until it finally works. Rarely do we need to do that. If we're doing consistent practice, and if we're doing smart practice, we shouldn't need to do a lot of woodshedding. But, I mean, there are times that you have to do a lot of repetition. I think that the consistent practice and the kind of practice that most of us do, if you're under a lot of pressure with a lot of music, you may need to do some woodshedding because you may need it to come together faster. But generally, woodshedding's not a good idea. It could lead to injury. It can lead to frustration. It's just like, okay, I only need to do so many repetitions. If I do 10 or if I do 20 repetitions today, and I do them tomorrow, and I do them the day after, that's fine. I don't have to do 500 today, which is what some people do, and what is a part of the Charlie Parker story for sure. So I hope that answered your question a little bit. But if I didn't, you can follow up. Dennis says, I finally figured out that working on a piece is more than just working on the piece. There's more technique. You need to be successful. Yeah, how about that? Your playing at any given time is a product of how advanced your technique is, how advanced your musicianship skills are, and they often go together, and how well you know the piece that you're working on. Whether it's a piece in progress or, a piece that you're performing, is obviously, that's going to be at a different level. But your playing is a product, or the sum of all of those. So all of those play into it. So yeah, technique is important. And if your technique isn't up to a particular piece, then the piece isn't going to work no matter how much time you put in. We've got to get your technique working up to it, or it's just, it's going to be a long haul. So Carol says, focus on what you are doing. Don't let your mind wander as you play. Yes, absolutely. And this really is, it's preventable, is what I want to say. And I think if you practice in shorter chunks of time, if you tend to be really distractible, and some of us are, so, just practice in shorter chunks of time and don't do more than 3 repetitions of anything. So, because the more you repeat something, like, okay, I'm going to play this 10 times. Well, after those first 3 times, your mind is going to start to wander. So don't let it. Just say, okay, 3 times, that's all we've got to get it right. And then we're moving on. Knowing that those shorter chunks of time, fewer repetitions done on more successive days will be more beneficial, will give you more progress. And if you're not letting your practice get so frustrating on one day that you can't, that you just can't, so that you just can't face it the next day, that's going to be better, right? So let your practice be focused, intense, and minimal, but every day. So there's an idea there. Pam says, Etudes have been a game changer for me. Etude a Day is available in My Heart Mastery. Yeah, Etude a Day is available as a separate course, but it's part of your My Heart Mastery membership. So as is the 30 Days to Done and most of the other courses that we offer separately are part of My Heart Mastery. The Waltz of the Flowers Cadenza Challenge that we did 2 Novembers ago, that was part of My Heart Mastery membership. So everybody else had to pay for it, but it's part of their membership. And My Heart Mastery membership at $47 a month is kind of a deal. I mean, you're getting 4 hours, well, assuming that there are 4 Mondays a month, you're getting 4 hours of live instruction on some topic. Granted, it's group learning, but that's kind of a fun way to learn because we all get to learn from each other, right? Elizabeth says, I struggle to find different practice techniques. I know constant repetition can build in mistakes, but finding different ways to play a tricky measure is hard without a musical background. Yes. So, and Julia underneath, I'm going to address that a little bit more in depth here, Elizabeth, but Julia underneath that says, the course Practice to the Finish was so good to learn this. Yeah, I haven't offered Practice to the Finish for a while, but I keep thinking it needs some revamping and I'd love to do it again. So thank you for the reminder, Julia. It's nice to see you too here. So, all right. One of the things we can do, you've got your fellow New Zealander waving at you there. So finding different ways to play a tricky measure is really hard. Spot practice techniques. We have, actually in My Heart Mastery, we have a little course on spot practice techniques. And that was, as Julia said too, that was part of practice for the finish. But we have spot practice techniques there. So here are some quick ones. And the thing is that practice techniques are different for different situations, right? Practice techniques for something that has a lot of chords are going to be different than practice techniques for something that has a lot of scalar passages or other patterns. But practicing in rhythms like long, short, bum, ba-dum, 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 that's very helpful. Playing one hand, if you have trouble getting something hands together, playing one hand and saying the notes of the other hand, fabulous way to do that. If you have a chord passage with chords in both hands, try just playing the thumbs, just playing the fourth fingers, just playing 4 and 3, just playing 3, 2, 1. Play the chords as arpeggios, all of them. If you have an arpeggio passage, play it all as chords. So there are an infinite number of practice techniques. But as you say, without a musical background, you might not know what to look for. I think that the first place I would look on on Harp Mastery, Elizabeth, go and search our blog. Go to the Harp Mastery blog. As opposed to the podcast. The blog is archived. I'm not doing new blogs anymore, but there are over 600 blog posts there. And go to browse the blog, and when you get to browse the blog, it'll give you, you'll see a search bar, and type in spot practice and see what you get. I'm sure that there is something there that that might give you some ideas for that. Do check that out. There might be something on the YouTube channel as well. Oh, there you go. Rebecca, helpful as always, has put the link to the blog in there. Thank you, Rebecca. I love you. Wendy says, I remember reading that time not spent mindfully is time wasted. Yep. Well, and it is, right? You don't want to let your mind wander when you're trying to do focused work. That's a contradiction, right? We just don't need. Yep. Okay. All right. Wave to you, Elizabeth, too. And thank you for joining us, and have a good rest of your day at work. So thank you for being here. Okay. So anyway, I do want to invite those of you who aren't part of My Harp Mastery to join us, because it's an amazing group of people, and just, a really valuable resource. So, but let's recap here quickly, and then I will let you go. I realize I've kept you longer than the hour. I have one other thing to tell you about too. So I'll recap, and then I'll remember to tell you that. So consistency, learning, and feedback. They're the three things that are going to make your practice plan successful. Without those three things, your practice isn't gonna work, right? You can have a terrific practice plan on Tuesday, but if you don't also do a terrific, if you don't practice Wednesday or Thursday, your terrific practice plan on Tuesday just isn't gonna make it. So be sure that consistency is there, that you're learning as you go, not just repeating, because that mindlessness, as so many people said here, that mindlessness does not help you learn, help you retain, and get all the information that you need about things. And then be sure to be in a place where you can have harp buddies, get answers to your questions, get, feel like you're supported in this journey. So you thought it started at 7:30. Oh, it started at 7:30 Eastern time. Oh dear. Sorry, Tana. Well, that's okay, because you'll be able to see a replay. You'll even be able to, as soon as it processes, it'll be up live on YouTube and live on the Harp Mastery Facebook page. And so it'll be there quickly for you. So no problem. So, thank you for being here, Emily. And thank you, Janet, for being here too. So here's the last thing I wanted to tell you before anybody else goes. I know that I am going to be inviting people to join us in My Harp Mastery. We only open membership a couple times a year, because we're busy working with the people in My Harp Mastery and designing the courses and the calls and the PDFs and everything that goes into this. So, she says, I hope to join Harp Mastery someday, taking lessons to get your skills up. You know what? I think that's backwards. I mean, if you're taking lessons, that's terrific. Do not stop your lessons, because that's great. But if you can manage it, you will find so much support for what you're doing with your teacher in My Harp Mastery. And we have students of every level. We have teachers, we have beginners, we have advanced pedal harpists, we have lever harpists who are just starting or are advanced. So yeah, as Arlene says, do both. Yeah, absolutely. So just get in there and enjoy it. I don't think you need to wait for that. As Cheryl says, $47 a month is a wonderful value. Yeah, I think it is. So I really urge you. But in case you have questions, what I wanted to tell you is that I will be holding a Q&A session particularly about my harp mastery, but I'll answer questions about anything, any harp related topic. I mean, don't ask me calculus questions. It's been too long, but any harp related topic, that'll be great. But my harp mastery in particular, and that's going to be Friday afternoon. I believe it's 3 p.m. Eastern time. So that will be coming out. Watch for those emails. We will invite you to that and we'll let you know how to join. But Ginger says she never wants to leave from harp mastery. Yeah, no, this is great. So thank you so much. Do the teachers come with the $47 price? Not individual. There's no one-on-one instruction in that. This is all group learning, and it's all on our Monday night calls. So it's not a substitute for your teacher, but it is a terrific support for whatever you're doing with your teacher. Most of our members take lessons or coach. Some of them are in my Gold Circle, some are in the coaching program. Many of them have their own teachers that they work with. Some just work on their own. Some actually are teachers. So it's not one-on-one instruction, but it's the next best thing, I think. So it can answer a lot of questions, and you'll be getting input just through the Monday night calls. I'm on those Monday night calls, but I rotate with my certified coaches as well. So there are 5 certified coaches. So you're getting a lot of different voices telling you terrific harp information in lots of different ways. So there's a lot to learn, just an incredible wealth of knowledge that's coming your way. So the archive of courses is tremendous. Yeah, and most valuable. Yeah, there's a lot of courses in there. I did a new course every month from the time I started in 2014 until recently, and now we've been sort of doing one-off calls. We're going to be doing some more revamping of the program to make it a little bit more useful even. So Paula says, I like live things and am not good at going to look at video courses. Yeah, which is why we have the live calls. Some people enjoy poking through the video courses that are there, but we're live every single week. Well, the Mondays that we don't meet are the Mondays between Christmas and New Year's. But there's somebody on a Monday night call every other Monday. I mean, every single Monday of the year, except for those. So those calls are live. And just as I'm talking with you now, I talk with you on Monday night. I will be leading the call this Monday night. We'll be working on some real specifics and diving into this practice plan stuff just a little bit more. I meant to have ready for you, but I forgot to do it, what some of the other calls coming up in May are. But we had, in the last few weeks, we've had calls on Baroque music and what Baroque music is available for harp and how to play it, how to start learning it. What time on Monday night? 7:30 Eastern. Same time as this webinar was. So it's 7:30 Eastern. All the calls are recorded. The replays go out. The replays are archived on the site. But if you're looking for more live stuff too, the member forum is always there. And there's always somebody willing to help or talk with you. And the sounding boards, I just am so excited. We started this program last year and it's been so successful. So we have, 3 or 4, I think 4 member-led playing groups, just small groups of harpists who meet and, get to be harp buddies and meet over Zoom and play for each other and talk about harp stuff. So, so that's fabulous. What I believe is that learning the harp is personal. It's about people. And it's about, teaching people, sharing knowledge, sharing information, sharing music. It's not just sticking up a video and leaving people to their own devices. It's not the way I was taught. And although the internet is an amazing medium and a really wonderful resource, and we can have all these video courses that are available all the time, that's not the only thing you need to learn, I believe. So podcast, Facebook Live warm-ups. Oh, yes, that's right. We've got the podcast, and then every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, we do a live warm-up in our Facebook group, our private Facebook group, which is Harp Happiness HQ, and you're welcome to join that. We will also be moving that to our new community, the Hub, so that you'll be able to access the Monday live warm-ups from Facebook or not from Facebook if you are never let me get on Facebook kind of person. So, all right. Gosh, that is what I had to share with you today. You have any more questions for me, or are we ready to call it a night? So, Hanel says, thank you very much. Very helpful. I hope so. So remember, it's just practice is easy and it's fun. It's not hard and boring. And whatever you do today, it's going to be different tomorrow, one way or another. Just expect it, go with the flow, and remember to have a good time. So, all right. Oh, good. You got good ideas. I'm so glad, Jane. Oh, Julie, it was great to have you here. Yep. Okay. All right. I am going to let you all go and have a wonderful, you are very welcome, Dale. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, rest of your day. And hopefully I'll see you on the call on Friday. That would be fun too, Friday afternoon. And I will talk to you in the meantime. Hopefully before then, you'll be hearing you'll be getting some emails and stuff from me to remind you about the other call, and that my Heart Mastery membership is open. So, okay. I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thanks so much for being here. Bye-bye.